Alright guys, round 9. Just about lost it right there. I think that's Isaac Ackles there in front of me. I snuck by there a little bit and then got a little loose, and you when your front tire gets into the back tire, you never win, so got a little lucky on that one. So Tony's out front, and Tony and I choose the pro line here, which is up to the right. And I ran the pro line pretty much the entire race. Thought it was pretty fun, but the first time up here there was really no arrows whatsoever. You see Tony went way out there looking for the track, and then we finally see some. So to make the pro line work, you can tell that I'm right where I was when I took the pro line. I mean, it was just the tiniest bit faster. I'm talking like a half a second or a second. That's about what you got. So if you hammered it up that straight and you were able to hammer that jump, then it was faster. But if there was anybody coming around that corner, then it wasn't really faster. I mean, it was like maybe a half second faster. So I did pass some people on the pro line, but it just wasn't really that much faster. So we are at MOB round 9, like I said earlier, and what do we got? More dust. So you probably don't know, but I am running a completely rebuilt motor now. I didn't blow my motor, I trashed my motor at the last race in the dirt. So on like Monday or Tuesday, I pulled my top end to put a new piston in my bike because it was getting due. And when I pulled the wristband out, a bunch of the finish was rubbed off the wristband, and eventually figured out that my rod was trashed. So I had to put a whole new bottom end in my bike, so I didn't get to ride for 2 weeks. I basically only have about 40 minutes on my bike, and you can see they started us behind the novice class again. So I'll whine just a little bit, and if you guys think I'm whining, then that's fine. Just tell me I'm whining in the comments if you'd like. But here's the problem with starting seniors and masters behind the novice class. The novice class is used to only having first year bike behind them. So if you come up behind a novice rider, he's never going to let you by because he always thinks that you're in his class. Until you get a couple of laps in, then they realize that everybody's coming around. So when they start us behind the novice class, nobody wants to let you by because everybody thinks you're in their class because they're used to only first year bike being behind them. So this really screwed my race, to be real honest with you, because I could not sprint because you're going to see here, I've got 2 laps in this, the first 2 laps in this video, and you're going to see that, I mean, all I'm doing the entire time is fighting through, you know, the novice row, which doesn't want to let anybody by because they're not used to anybody faster being behind them. That's my opinion anyway. I know you're going to say, oh, well, you should be so much faster, you should just be able to ride by them. But, I mean, these guys are obviously novices right here. And when you're in this tight stuff, you know, a lot of times you have to follow for a while. When you have to follow for a while, you're not able to pull away from anybody in your class that's right behind you, which I have people in my class right behind me. So, I don't know. That's just my opinion. I know passing is part of racing, but I don't know. I'm just not for screwing around with the rows. And again, here we go. Here's where I should be sprinting away, but yet here half the novice row is passing me. And there's one of my competitors passing me. So anyway, it looks like mayhem in the woods, but it's all part of it. So we're working up through the dust here, trying to get back through. There's more people in my row sneaking by now. It's kind of a frustrating lap for me. Once again, just kind of, as you can tell, just fighting through the mayhem here. I realize this is normal for the novice class, but it's nice to be able to get out and just ride a little bit. I might just have to sign up for the pro class next year. I know. That'll work. Yeah, I don't know about that. So anyway, rebuilt bike, about 40 minutes on it. You can tell it actually sounds different. It sounds a little lower. Sounds like it's got a little bit more grunt to me. It sounds really good. Ended up, with the time frame that I had, I ended up having to put just a brand new OEM crank in it. Crank was very expensive, as you can imagine, because my bike is orange. But got it all back together and got it ready. Got it just barely broke in. Did not get to ride at all for 2 weeks, which didn't help at all because I like to ride. So here we're catching up to, looks like I'm just passing, well, Big Dave's there in front of me, and why can't I remember the name now? It'll come to me here in just a second. But I got back by, well, there's a senior moment. I'll think of his name here in a minute. My competitor, and so I think he's actually right behind me now. And again, we got rows of people in front of us. Like this little section here. It's pretty tight, but yet you can still kind of move through it pretty quick. Didn't really care for these sections at all. Hated these sections actually. The dirt here is, I don't know, I kind of feel like the dirt here is real similar to East Fork, kind of. You know, it's mostly clay, hard, dusty, and you know, we got some roots and stuff sticking up. Big Dave was riding pretty good today. Later in the race, he was like on me like the last 3 laps. Every time I'd turn around, I felt like Sasquatch was on a bike right behind me. And he was just about to get me. And he almost got a pass on me like maybe the last lap. I think it was his last ditch effort to get by, and just about made it happen. So again, we're still working up through, that's my brother there, he's in novice heavy, so working past him, and kind of focusing on Dave here, gonna try and sneak by him. This race definitely didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to. Just fighting through people, never really being able to get up to speed, kind of is how I kind of felt. So I get a little pass there on Dave and sneak by there. And if you guys were there, you can tell that it was pretty dusty. The GoPro always seems to see through the dust a little bit better than you can with your goggles. So sometimes you think, well, you're going kind of slow, but for whatever reason, the GoPro seems to be able to see through the dust better than you are when you're actually riding. So sneaking up to another guy in my class here, try and make a pass, and I think actually with this pass here, I'll be in first. Don't stay there. But that's where I'll be here in just a minute. Some of this stuff up here was pretty sketchy because it just got pretty dusty. So I made a pass there, and at this point anyway, I'm in first. But again, kind of the problem is it just I just felt like that the whole race I was just held up a lot. So never could really pull away, and ended up kind of riding straight at one point later on in the race when the track went to the right, and I think I let Big Dave by, maybe a couple people by actually when I did that, but it was just so dusty I couldn't see the track, and I went straight and the track went to the right, so I had to kind of turn around. And another section at which that happened to a couple of other guys, and there again you just couldn't see. So kind of gave a guy a little T-bone. Actually, it might be that guy right there. We'll find out here in just a minute. But that's a quick lap. So I'm gonna show 2 laps during this video, and we're coming to the end of the first lap now. Fairly short laps, and you know, fairly short track. I think maybe another mile or 2 would have helped, but is what it is. This mulch section up here was pretty interesting. Later in the race, it got a little more chewed up, and it was a little more challenging. Yeah, so right up here, yeah, you can see, if you look up there, there's a guy that went down, and all of a sudden everybody was kind of going straight, because it was, again, this was the first lap. So once again, some of the people that I had just passed let in front of me. Now, this 114 guy here, me and him went back and forth, I think 12 times, because he kept wanting by me and revving, so I kept letting him by, but then every time I took the pro lines, I'd get ahead of him, so he'd have to pass me again. So he probably couldn't figure out where I was coming from, or what do they call that, Groundhog Day or whatever. So again, this is my second time catching up to Big Dave now. At this point, I'm not sure at this point where anybody else in my class is besides Dave at this point, because in the dust I just couldn't really see who made it by. So on the adjusted points, I am 1 point out of first place. This race didn't help. Had a couple issues that were out of my control, and a couple issues that probably were in my control. So right here, once again, I'm going to split off to the right, and I'm going to take the pro line, and we'll see where. Oh, this is okay. This didn't help. That half second that I lost right there was enough to not make the pro line work. So if you watch now, when I come up through here, I don't think I'm gonna get, oh, I did pass Big Dave, but you could see he was right there around that tree. So you had to be pretty perfect around the pro line to pass. I mean, I think you gained maybe a second there, it looked like. So second lap here, kind of feeling the track out, knowing it a little bit better now, kind of know what to expect. And then obviously, as the day goes on, it gets more dusty as the day goes on. Later in the race, if you went up through this section here behind somebody, it was way worse than that. almost thought I could get by right there, but I was a little bit off balance at the same time he was. Otherwise, I would have been able to sneak by. With a little bit of moisture in the ground, all this up here would have been just awesome, but no moisture today, so it all turned to powder pretty quick.
Come on!
So I'm thinking right here. Yeah, right here. So I think here that I can kind of hop over that log because once again, got, you know, somebody not holding, kind of holding me up. And when I went to blip over that log and my front tire hit it, it scooted and bounced, and that was it. I would have had to have like wheelied the front wheel completely over it, and I didn't do that. I kind of tried to not really double blip it, but just kind of touch it with my front tire, and that's what screwed me up. So kind of threw away, you know, 5 seconds there, 5 or 10 seconds there, which again, you're going to find, well, I'll just tell you, 5 or 10 seconds in this race would have mattered. You would think in an hour and a half race, a few seconds here or there don't matter, but it absolutely matters. Every time you lose a few seconds, not only do you have to gain those seconds back, but you know, that changes your heart rate, and that changes, you know, your heart rate goes up, that changes everything. So we got to catch back up here, and we're going to try and make some more passes and try to keep moving forward here. What I noticed was happening is when you would take the pro line, a lot of times you would get caught up in more people that were, it's like they weren't ahead of you before, but then they pop out ahead of you when you take the pro line. So here we're catching up to, it looks like a whole group of people. Kind of once again, but most of these people in this, you know, even the faster guys in a novice row, these guys would have never caught up in a normal race when I started ahead of them. But I keep catching up to them and trying to pass them, and you know, just kind of dealing with all that. If it wasn't so dusty, it would have been different, because I think I could have moved by a lot quicker. But it's kind of a little sketchy when it's already dusty, and then you're trying to squeeze past on an outside line or something like that in the dust. Late in the race, right in this section right here, I tried to let a guy by, and so I scooted over and got into that high berm of powder right there, and just about bit it, just about took the other guy out too. That was a little sketchy. So here again in this tight section, I tend to catch everybody, and again, these are seconds that I'm losing that I wouldn't normally lose. So one round left. It is a new track, as far as I know. I've never ridden on it. Somewhere in Peebles. So we will see how the last round shakes things out. Like I said, I'm 1 point behind first place in the championship. So basically, I really need to get first place to win the championship. kind of just like last year. One of the races that they moved to a Sunday, I had to use as a drop, and my top competitor this year got first to that race, and that's exactly what happened to me last year. The races that got moved to Sundays kind of screwed me, and that's kind of what's coming back to bite me this year. But I did have a bad race a couple of races ago. I got a fourth. Fourth doesn't sound bad, but when you're in a tight points battle, fourth place is horrible. But hey, that's why they call it racing, right? So once again, still kind of riding behind guys here, not really able to run my pace, but they're just fast enough that, you know, as an old guy like me, you know, you got to take chances at this point to get past guys that are just a little bit slower than you. And you know, when you're old, sometimes you're like, is it worth it? So that's kind of where you're at in this situation. Run another lap around the motocross track, breathe a little bit more dust, and get ready to call it a day. That line down there to the left was a little bit faster, but you had to be careful, because if you were trying to pass somebody there, you could come together with them if you weren't careful. So, I mean, it was a tiny bit faster, but it would be really hard to actually make a pass there, because in my opinion, you would probably run into the guy you were trying to pass, because it really wasn't that much faster. So here again on the track, I'm able to make a few more passes. But again, you can tell that it's just kind of hard to do much when you can't see very well. Of course, everybody's dealing with it, so it is what it is. So I hope you all make it for the next round, round 10. We've had good numbers of people on the line. I've been trying to show how many people are on the line, and we've had good numbers of bikes. So if you haven't raced in a while, come out and line up. Hope you enjoy the video, and see you next time.